Alright, so you're thinking about moving to Colorado, but you're kind of wondering what region of Colorado should you move to. I mean, after all, like most states, it's fairly large. Obviously, we have some smaller states and some really large states. Colorado's, I'd say, somewhere in the middle. But we've got bustling metro areas, remote areas, mountain towns, Great Plains towns. There's all sorts of places to be. And whether you're a young professional, maybe you have a family, maybe you're retired, an empty nester, or maybe you're just looking for a vacation home for that matter, you're kind of wondering where the best place might be. Hi, my name's Brian Ediger, and I'm a realtor here in Colorado. Lived here for a little over half my life, and I'd like to show you around. I love Colorado. I won't say I've been everywhere in Colorado, but I have driven through various areas at various times, and I think I have a pretty good idea of what the areas are like, especially since we have something called the internet, where you can learn a lot, hence why you're here, actually. So whether you're ready to buy or sell or invest tomorrow or in a year from now, I'd like to hear from you and earn your business. My contact information is in the description. Feel free to reach out to me in whichever way you are comfortable. If we can do a Zoom call, that'd be great. You can schedule one on my Calendly. With that, let's talk a little bit about Colorado. Colorado is a diverse state with a variety of landscapes, lifestyles, and economic opportunities as well. And the weather can be very different depending on where you're at. If you want the quiet mountain life, you can have that, that's great, but be prepared for the snow if you're going to stay here during the winter. If you want to be more in the city, that's great, we have plenty of those obviously. And there's a lot of amenities, but you got to be ready for the traffic if you're going to be staying here. And of course in the winter, we still get snow in the cities, but there are the plows that go through on the major thoroughfares and the major neighborhoods and whatnot, make sure everything's clear. The smaller side streets you're going to be a little more careful on. The areas we're going to focus in today are going to be these. I'm going to read them off just so you know. The metro area, north central, northeast, northwest, Pikes Peak, southeast, southwest, and west central. And these are all areas that you can find on the state website. I'll leave a link down below so you can see the map that I'm going to be using that I'll show you here in a second. And of course they have links to go to all the different areas and talk more about them. Each region, of course, has its own unique climate, geography, job market, and cost of living. So let's go ahead and explore some of these, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up the map. Okay. So here's the map, and you can see all the different areas I just listed. We'll start with the metro that's here in the center. And that's really the Denver metro area. Right now, the city of Denver and the county of Denver, they're exactly the same thing, really. Denver's gotten that big and the county is that small. There are several other cities that are attached to Denver, hence the Denver metro area. Now, the Denver metro area is really for young professionals and families, those who like living in the suburbs, or those who want the city conveniences. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're not one of those, you can't live there, obviously. Of course, if you want city conveniences, that kind of covers everybody, every age range and whatnot, right? But again, you're going to need to be able to deal with all the traffic and having close neighbors and that kind of a thing. The Denver metro is kind of an economic center of the state, offering a thriving job market. We've got the technology industries, healthcare, finance. Lockheed Martin is here, kind of close to the mountains, but it is in that metro area. Yeah, Dish Network is headquartered here as well, in Inglewood actually, but that is part of the Denver metro area. So there's a lot of job opportunities, and you might be moving here because your company wants you to be. Of course, there's always a possibility of working remotely, which could work in your favor for some of the other areas we'll talk about. There is public transportation. You got the RTD buses and trains and whatnot, and they can be convenient. Obviously, you're not going to have to pay for parking if you take the RTDs, assuming you can walk to where you get picked up. But it can take time because they're going to, even the trains, they're going to have to stop at various stops along the way. You're going to have to know which one to get off on, make sure you're on the right one that's not going to go a different direction, all those sorts of things. So they can be helpful, can also be a bit of a pain. Now, the area does experience all 4 seasons, sometimes all in the same day, or at least in the same week. The winters can be kind of rough with some snow, but again, we've got the plows that know what they're doing, getting the snow out of the way. It can be a little cold. We do still have 300 days of sunshine, though, every year. Summers can be rather warm, and we do have the occasional thunderstorm rolling through as well, like most places. Now, Denver is more on the Great Plains area, but it's really, really close to the foothills and, of course, then the mountains. Home prices here are going to be the highest that they are in the state. Though some of the suburbs, Aurora, Lakewood, Thornton, and others, can offer more affordable options for housing if you still want to stay in the Denver metro area. We are higher than the median, I believe, in the rest of the country as well. Now, as part of this video, I want to talk about some of the funny place names. This one isn't necessarily funny, but it is a little interesting. It's Federal Heights. It sounds kind of official and whatnot, but it's actually a lot more suburban than it is stately. And the next region I want to look at is going to be this north central region here. And it's, these names are pretty descriptive, right? This is in the north, in the center part of Colorado. This would be a place for some outdoor enthusiasts, college students. There are plenty of colleges up that way. There are other colleges too in the state, but you get the idea. And those who want a balance between a city life and some nature, right? It's not that rural, or it can be in certain areas, obviously, but it's still got some big cities up that way as well. Matter of fact, in this region, some of those cities are Boulder, Fort Collins, Estes Park. They're known for their outdoor recreation, strong education systems, and active lifestyles. As far as the climate goes, they're milder winters compared to the mountain regions, kind of like Denver. I would say it's pretty similar there. Hot summers, frequent wind gusts up that way too. The proximity to the foothills, though, does make it a bit of an outdoor paradise. Boulder is expensive when it comes to the real estate market. Fort Collins does provide some more affordable alternatives if you want to live up that way, with a similar feel to Boulder. Not exact feel, obviously, but a similar one. But Boulder is definitely one of the more expensive areas up there, as well as like Golden and those areas. Now, a funny place name here. It's not too far from Boulder, actually. It's called Hygiene. Gotta wonder why they gave it that name. Let's go ahead and dive into the next area. And this is going to be the northeastern section here. I'm not going to be too careful in my drawing, especially since I'm using a mouse with a track wheel, or trackball. Now, the northeastern region, this is going to be a great region for ranchers, farmers, those looking for an affordable rural lifestyle. It's known for its vast open plains. This is the Great Plains area that does go into Kansas, obviously. It's got a lot of small towns with small town charm, and a great agricultural economy as well. Some of the towns here would be Sterling and Holyoke. Now, the flat terrain can bring some strong winds, nice hot summers, cold winters. You can get the occasional tornado out that way because it is so flat, mostly during the spring and summer. This is one of the more affordable regions in Colorado, offering large plots of land at low prices. Hence why it's good for the ranchers and farmers. Now, that doesn't mean that the cheapest houses are out there. They can be, but it just tends to be cheaper than the rest of the state. Out this way, there's a town called Last Chance. It kind of sounds like an ultimatum, right? Your last chance for what as you're passing through. All right, now we're going to swing over to the northwest, staying up here in the north. This really big region here. Really big section of the mountains, too. Wait, oh, come on. Okay, we'll draw around that. Looks like I need to manage some of my Chrome extensions here. Now, the northwest, this is definitely for nature lovers. You're out there in the mountains. Skiers, Vail, Breckenridge, and whatnot, they're up there. And those just looking for the quiet mountain life. Some of the towns up there and some key features, you got Steamboat Springs, Craig, and Meeker up that way. The region boasts some stunning mountain landscapes, wildlife, and a slower pace of life. I will say that buying a property up there is going to be more expensive, right? Even though you're way out and up in the mountains, that's where people want to be. And if you're going to get a big piece of land too, it's going to be even more expensive. If you're going to be closer to those ski resorts, way more expensive. Although it could be an opportunity, depending on where you're looking, to buy a place. And if you're not going to be there all the time, maybe renting it out, but you need to make sure that whatever municipality your property is in is okay with you doing Airbnb or VRBO or whatever kind of way you're renting out your property. You want to make sure you're doing it properly and make sure that they're okay with it at all, because some places are cracking down on that and they're like, hey, we don't want any more of these. We've got enough, or we've got too many. We need to try and get rid of some. Just look into it. Maybe try to ingratiate yourself with the folk who are on the committees in that municipality, because they might be able to smooth some things over for you too. As far as the climate and geography, we're up here in the mountains. You got the higher elevations, which can have some unpredictable weather changes at times. It's going to be cold and snowy and whatnot during the winters, and some pretty mild summers. I personally would really like it. I just can't afford to live up there right now. The resort towns like Steamboat Springs, Breckenridge Vale, they can be pretty expensive, like I talked about. And the more rural areas, though, can still be, relatively speaking at least, affordable. Now, place names. This one, I don't necessarily think it's funny, but it's interesting. It's Dinosaur. Yes, Dinosaur, Colorado. It's an actual town. It's pretty close to the Dinosaur National Monument, and it's also actually pretty close to the Utah border, too. I haven't been there yet. I would like to go there, but just an interesting town name. Alright, now let's get back to the center of the map here, and we want to look at this region known as Pikes Peak. And of course, as you could probably tell, Pikes Peak is indeed in this region. Matter of fact, if you've watched any of my Elizabeth videos, like maybe I only mentioned in one, I can actually see Pikes Peak from my living room window. It's not, huge, I'm not that close to it, but I can still see it. So who's going to be here in Pikes Peak? Well, there's a lot of military families because we have the military bases down there and the Air Force Academy and things like that. I guess a lot of people here end up being commuters, driving to wherever they end up working, although if you live in the Springs and work in the Springs, it's not much of a commute. And of course, those who enjoy the outdoors, you're kind of seeing a theme here. If you want to live in Colorado, you better love the outdoors. Otherwise, why are you here? Right? I mean, okay, if you're a rancher or a farmer and you're out working your cattle, you still love the outdoors, but maybe you'd rather just do your work and then be back at home. Maybe. I don't know. Some key features here. Colorado Springs anchors the region, offering, of course, a strong military presence with the bases and the academy and whatnot. Great opportunities for hiking. Matter of fact, the Manitou Incline is not too far from there, and that's a pretty tough climb. I haven't done it yet, but I have heard it's a pretty tough climb. I have seen some very pretty pictures, though, where people get like halfway up or somewhere in that range, and they can take a picture, and you can actually see you've got the clouds in the middle of the picture, and you can see below the clouds and above the clouds. It's really cool. There is a bit of a lower cost of living compared to Denver, right, in the metro area just up north of this, where we talked about it first. But it's still a little up there, but it is more affordable. Definitely a more affordable option if you want to live in a big city, but not in Denver. And it also has a strong Christian presence, by the way, if that's something that you're interested in. The weather here can be a little bit more mild with some occasional snow, strong winds, but it does have the beautiful mountain backdrops, and it is a lot closer, or well, I would say Colorado Springs is a lot closer to the mountains than Denver is. Maybe if we're looking at the western side of the Denver metro, especially like Morrison, which is actually up in the mountain, or up in the foothills, then maybe not so much. We're pretty close. They're both just as close as the other. And I mentioned that there's a lower cost of living in the Springs, but the prices are rising. Of course, prices are rising everywhere, so I might want to take that into consideration. Interesting place name here, Whitefield. The perfect name considering all the wide open landscapes that the area has. Alright, now let's take a look at Southeast, which, surprise, surprise, is in the southeast corner of Colorado. Colorado is fairly rectangular. I mean, it's a little wonky. It's not quite a perfect rectangle, but so down here in the southeast, this is really a place for like history buffs, rural dwellers, those who want the quiet life and a more affordable lifestyle. Much like the northeast, properties are going to be cheaper out this way. And if you're wondering why the southeastern part of Colorado is great for history buffs, we've got Bent's Old Fort National Historic Site out there in La Junta. We've got the Sand Creek Massacre National Historic Site at Eads. Got the Santa Fe Trail is down that way. Ludlow Massacre Site near Trinidad. Of course, Trinidad's historic district as well. And I may mispronounce this one, I apologize, but the Amache, Grenada, near Grenada, it's a World War II Japanese internment camp. And there's also dinosaur trackways out there. There's petroglyphs out there, and other Native American heritage sites as well. So really, if you like that and you want to be near that, the southeastern part of Colorado would be a great place to go. Of course, now seeing massacre sites, I mean, I think it's appropriate to go see these sites to remember what happened so we don't repeat it, right? I think that's a really good thing to have. Some of the key features of the southeastern part of Colorado here. We've got towns like Lamar, La Junta, and Trinidad, known for their agricultural roots and historic sites that we just kind of talked about. The climate, it's dry and hot down there in the summer. It's got some pretty moderate winters. It is the plains dominant landscape in that area, not only towards the eastern side, towards Kansas, but also getting closer to the mountains. And with that, let's go ahead and look at the southwestern part of Colorado. It is interesting that they've divided the north up into three parts, the west, central, and eastern, but down the south here we've just got the east and the west. Not entirely sure why they did it that way, but they did. Now for the southwest, if you're an artist, a retiree, or those, again, who just love outdoor recreation, this is a good place for you. We've got some towns like Durango, Telluride, and Cortez, and there are still mountainous areas. They're a little further west because the mountains do kind of curve over that way. But this area does offer a mix of historic mining towns and beautiful mountain views. You got some milder winters here compared to up in the high country, up in the mountainous areas, like in the northwest and the western central area where we're going to look at next. But again, it's got stunning year-round scenery, and Telluride does have some kind of expensive homes too. By the way, it's one of the most expensive areas in the state, Telluride is. But the surrounding towns can offer some more affordable opportunities, especially if you have the money to build and you want to buy some land, or maybe buy a house that has land and see about tearing it down and rebuilding something else. That could be an option. Now, kind of a funny name for a place here is Stoner. And of course, given that Colorado is 420 friendly, of course, although this town I think was around a lot longer than that. But that could raise some eyebrows if you're driving through and see that place name. Alright, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the last area here, West Central. And this is obviously in the west, and kind of, sort of, in the center part of the state. Again, outdoor adventurers, maybe even second home buyers. This could be a good place for a vacation property. You have a slower pace of life out this way. Some of the key features, you got Gunnison, Crested Butte, Montrose, all beautiful places. It's known for its skiing and hiking and picturesque mountain scenery. I mean, a lot of these places have picturesque mountain scenery. It's Colorado after all. The winters here are going to be kind of cold and heavy with snow. You're going to have cooler summers, and we are up in the higher elevations in this area as well. As I said, the Rockies are kind of bending over to the west as we go down further south in Colorado here. Crested Butte is kind of a pricey area as far as the real estate goes. Montrose can offer some more budget-friendly options, and of course some of the smaller towns can do that as well. And you want to keep in mind, though, if you're going to be in a smaller town up in the mountains, you might want to have a stockpile of goods, maybe a generator with some fuel, stuff like that, in case the winter hits kind of hard. A funny place name out here is Paradox. Now, it's unincorporated, but it is in Montrose County, and it's got a name that reflects its unique geographic features. Alright, and that's Colorado, a state with a wide range of places to live. You got the plains areas, the mountainous areas, you got large cities, small towns. If you're a rancher, if you're in the tech industry, if you're an empty nester, if you're looking for a second home, we've got plenty of places for you to choose from to live, and I would love to help you find the right place for you and your budget and your family if you have one. So if you're ready to move either tomorrow or in a year from now, please get a hold of me. Again, my contact information is in the description down below. If you found anything in this video helpful, please subscribe so you get my weekly videos, and share this video with somebody else if you think that they would find it helpful as well. And don't forget to like and write a comment down below letting me know some areas that you would actually like to go and see with the camera instead of me just sitting here telling you about different areas. Until then, God bless and happy hunting.